What would you do if your husband brought his mistress into your own home? Because he believed you were blind. Not just once. Not by mistake. But again and again. He held her hand at my dining table. He called her baby, while I was sitting only 3 feet away. He kissed her forehead in the kitchen where I used to cook his favorite meals. And the whole time, he believed my world was darkness. But my eyes were wide open. I saw everything. And I said nothing. That silence? That was not weakness. It was my weapon. Because sometimes the most powerful revenge is not screaming. It's watching. It's waiting. It's letting someone destroy themselves while they think you are helpless. Let me ask you something. If the person you trusted most thought you were powerless, would you correct them immediately? Or would you let them feel safe in their lies? Because safety makes people careless. And careless people make mistakes. Big ones. After my diagnosis, he cried next to my hospital bed. He told me we would get through this. He promised to be my eyes. He promised to protect me. 3 weeks later, he brought another woman into our house. At first, he said she was there to help. A healthcare assistant. Someone to make my life easier. But the way she touched him, the way he smiled at her, that was not medical care. That was betrayal. And I watched it all. I watched their fingers intertwine when they thought I was staring into nothing. I watched her sit in my chair. I watched him give her the small laugh that used to belong to me. They whispered about the future. About money. About what will happen after. After what? After me? They thought I was living in darkness. But the real darkness was their hearts. Here's the part they never expected. The night before she first walked into our house, my sight came back. Completely. Perfectly. The doctors called it temporary trauma blindness. A stress reaction. But I made a different decision. I decided not to tell him. Because something in his eyes had already changed. And I needed to see who he truly was, without the mask. So I played the role. The quiet wife. The helpless woman. The blind fool. While secretly, I became the only one in that house who could truly see. I saw the lies. I saw the greed. I saw the plan forming between them. And I started building my own. Because if he wanted to turn my life into a performance, then I would give him a final act he would never forget. If you love stories where silence turns into strength and betrayal turns into power, gently press like and subscribe. It helps this story reach more people. And trust me, what happened next is something you don't want to miss. It started with small things. The first day she came, she wore soft perfume. Sweet. Strong. New. He walked her into the living room and said loudly, "This is Anna. She'll help you during the day." Anna. She said hello in a soft voice, almost fake gentle. She waved her hand in front of my face to test me. I did not blink. Inside, my heart was racing. Outside, I looked empty. From that day, she came almost every afternoon. At first, they were careful. They stayed on opposite sides of the room. But slowly, they got comfortable. Comfort is dangerous. One afternoon, I was sitting near the window. My head slightly turned away from them. They thought I was resting. He was standing behind her. His hands moved to her waist. She laughed quietly and said, "She really can't see anything?" He answered, "Nothing." Doctor confirmed it. "We're safe. We're safe." That sentence burned inside my chest. Safe to do what? Safe to replace me? Safe to plan my future without me? I kept my breathing slow. That night, when he was in the shower, I walked carefully through the house. Every step silent. I checked his office drawer. Bank papers were missing. Property documents were moved. Our joint account password had been changed. That was when I understood. This was not just an affair. This was preparation. Preparation for a life without me. The next week, their whispers became longer. They spoke about selling the beach house. They spoke about transferring money before things get complicated. Anna once said, "You need to move fast. Once she realizes." He cut her off and laughed. "She won't realize anything." I almost smiled. Because he was right. I wouldn't realize. I already knew. And that is much more powerful. I began my own preparation. While they went out one evening, I called a lawyer. I did not explain everything. Not yet. But I asked questions. Simple ones. About assets. About hidden transfers. About protection. Then I installed something small. Tiny devices. Hidden in plain sight. In the living room. In his office. In the dining area. Not for revenge. For truth. Because truth is stronger than anger. Days passed. They became braver. She started sitting closer to me. Testing me. Once she picked up my wedding photo from the shelf. She looked at him and said soon. He nodded. Soon. That word echoed in my head all night. Soon what? Soon divorce? Soon accident? Soon disappearance? I needed more proof. And I needed patience. The hardest part was pretending. Pretending not to see her red lipstick on his collar. Pretending not to notice the hotel receipts in his jacket. Pretending not to feel my marriage dying in front of me. But every lie they told made my final move stronger. Because when the lights finally turn on, and the blind woman opens her eyes, there will be no place left for them to hide. And trust me, they were about to learn that darkness was never mine. It was theirs. And the more confident they became, the more careless they got. By the second month, Anna no longer pretended to be professional. She stopped bringing the medical bag. She stopped acting polite. Instead, she walked into my house like she already owned it. One afternoon, she sat across from me and crossed her legs slowly. "Do you ever miss seeing?" she asked. Her voice had no sympathy, only curiosity. I kept my face still, my eyes unfocused. "I remember colors," I said softly. She looked at my husband and smirked. Colors. If only she knew I could see every shade of red on her lips. That evening, they thought I had gone to sleep early. But I stayed awake. Their whispers traveled through the hallway. "She trusts you completely," Anna said. "She has no choice," he replied. "Without me, she's helpless." Helpless. That word again. It was almost funny. Because the so-called helpless woman had already copied every financial record from his laptop. He made one mistake. One careless, arrogant mistake. He forgot to lock his screen. While he was outside taking a phone call, I walked into his office. Every movement controlled. Every step silent. I connected a small drive. Copied everything. Bank transfers. Property drafts. Emails. And one folder. Hidden. Named Future. Inside it were scanned documents. A draft of divorce papers. A property shift plan. And a life insurance policy. Recently updated. My name. High value. Beneficiary. My hands felt cold. This was bigger than betrayal. This was planning. Serious planning. I returned to my chair before he walked back in. Heart steady. Breathing slow. Blind again. The next few days, I watched them differently. Not as a hurt wife, but as someone studying enemies. I noticed how he encouraged her. How he told her, "Soon this house will feel different." How she replied, "I can't wait." They spoke about changing furniture, repainting walls, removing old memories. Old memories. That's what I had become. One night, they sat only inches away from me on the couch. Her head rested on his shoulder. His fingers played with her hair. He whispered, "Just a little longer." She asked, "What about the insurance?" He answered quietly, but I heard every word. "It's active." Silence. Then she said, "And if something happens?" He paused. "It won't look suspicious." My stomach twisted, but my face did not move. That was the moment everything inside me changed. This was no longer about catching a cheating husband. This was survival. The next morning, I made 3 calls. First, the lawyer. This time I explained more. Not everything, but enough. Second, my doctor. I scheduled a follow-up check. Third, someone they would never expect. His older brother. We were not close, but he respected fairness. I told him I needed help planning a surprise dinner for my husband. A celebration. He liked the idea. He agreed to bring family. I smiled after ending the call, because surprises work best when no one sees them coming. Over the next week, Anna became bold. She once stood in front of me and waved her hand again. Testing. I did not blink. Then she leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Poor thing. Poor thing. If only she knew." Meanwhile, I gathered more. Voice recordings. Camera footage. Every touch. Every whisper. Every dangerous sentence. I saved copies outside the house. Cloud storage. Encrypted drives. Multiple backups. Because people like them destroy evidence when panic starts. And panic was coming. 3 days before the dinner, something unexpected happened. I was in the kitchen alone. I had just poured myself water. Suddenly, Anna walked in quietly. Too quietly. I turned fast by instinct. For 1 second. Our eyes locked. Directly. Clearly. My heart stopped. Did she see it? Did she notice? She froze. I quickly looked away and let the glass slip from my hand. It shattered on the floor. "I'm sorry," I whispered. She stared at me. Long. Too long. Then she laughed softly. "Be careful." She left the room. But I knew. Something felt different. That night she asked him, "Are you absolutely sure she's blind?" His voice sounded irritated. "Of course I am." She turned when I walked in. "She hears better now. That's all." I stayed still in bed. But inside I understood. Time was running out. The dinner had to happen soon. Because if she suspected me, they might move faster. And I needed them relaxed. Comfortable. Confident. The next evening he told me, "We're inviting family this weekend. Small dinner." I almost laughed. Because he thought it was his idea. "Of course," I said gently. "I'll try to help." He squeezed my shoulder. "You don't have to do anything." Exactly. I didn't. I just needed to wait. And prepare. Because in 3 days, the lights in this house would shine brighter than ever before. And when they did, there would be no more darkness. Only truth. And trust me, truth is blinding. And that night, it was finally time for them to see. The house was quiet before the dinner. Too quiet. He was nervous, but in a good mood. Anna arrived early, dressed in a soft cream dress like she already belonged there. She walked past me and said sweetly, "You look beautiful tonight." I smiled gently. "Thank you." Inside, my heart was calm. Not racing. Not shaking. Calm. Because when you prepare long enough, fear disappears. Guests began arriving. His brother. His sister-in-law. 2 close family friends. Even our old neighbor who had known us since the early years of our marriage. The dining table was full. Plates. Glasses. Soft music in the background. And tension. He gave a small speech after everyone sat down. "I just wanted us all together," he said. "Family is important. Especially during difficult times." Difficult times. I almost admired his acting. Anna stood beside him, pretending to assist me with my chair. Her fingers brushed his hand under the table. I saw it. So did the small hidden camera above the bookshelf. Dinner started. Conversations flowed. Laughter. Stories. Normal. But underneath it all, something was building. He kept looking at me with fake concern. "Are you okay?" he asked loudly. "I'm fine," I answered softly. Then his brother spoke. "You're strong," he told me. "Not everyone handles something like blindness this well." I turned my face toward his voice and smiled. "Sometimes," I said slowly, "we see more than people think." The table went quiet for 1 second. Just one. Then conversation returned. Anna shifted in her seat. She was uncomfortable. Good. Halfway through dinner, I gently placed my fork down. "I actually have something to say," I said calmly. He immediately stood up. "Of course. Take your time." The room became still. All eyes turned toward me. I stood up slowly, carefully. Then I reached for the light dimmer on the wall and turned it up. Bright. Very bright. For the first time in months, I looked directly at him. Not past him. At him. Our eyes locked. And I held his gaze. The color drained from his face. He froze. Anna's hand slipped off his arm. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Impossible to ignore. I'm not blind, I said clearly. Nos checking. No tears. Just truth. Gasps filled the room. His brother stood up halfway from his chair. What? My husband tried to laugh. What are you talking about? I walked toward the television, picked up the remote, and pressed play. The screen lit up. Video after video. Anna sitting on his lap. Whispered conversations about insurance. Plans to transfer money. The word active. The word soon. His voice. Clear. Undeniable. The room felt smaller. Thicker. Harder to breathe. Anna stepped back. This is insane, she said. No. Y ensurat calmly. This is evidence. I looked at everyone at the table. I regained my sight the night before she entered this house. Shock again. I stayed silent because I needed the truth. Then I looked at him. And you gave me more than enough. He tried to speak. Nothing came out. His brother stared at him with pure disappointment. How long? His brother asked quietly. He had no answer. Anna grabbed her purse. This isn't what it looks like. It looks exactly like what it is, I said. Then I reached into the drawer beside the television and placed copies of documents on the table. Divorce drafts, property shifts, insurance policy, updated, highlighted. I have already spoken to my lawyer, I continued. Everything is secured. Accounts frozen. Assets protected. His head snapped up. What? I nodded. Yes. I may have been blind for a short time. I stepped closer. But you were blind to who I really am. Silence again. But this time, it felt powerful. He moved toward me. Angry now. You planned this. No. I said softly. You did. Anna rushed toward the door. No one stopped her. His brother looked at him with disgust. You brought her here? Into your home? No response. The room that once felt like mine felt lighter now. Free. I turned to the guests. I'm sorry you had to witness this. His brother shook his head. No. He should be sorry. I walked back to my seat. Sat down calmly. For months, I said. I lived in silence. I listened. I watched. I collected truth. I paused. Because sometimes the best way to win is to let people think you've already lost. He sank into his chair. Broken. Exposed. Finished. The next weeks moved fast. Legal action. Separation. Public embarrassment he could not escape. The evidence was undeniable. The insurance policy was investigated. The asset transfers stopped. And the man who thought I lived in darkness was left standing alone in it. As for me, I moved into the beach house he planned to sell. Kept it. Renovated it. Turned it into something new. Something mine. Sometimes I sit on the balcony at sunset, watching the light change over the ocean. And I think about silence. About patience. About power. They thought blindness made me weak. But blindness gave me vision. Real vision. I saw who he truly was. And more importantly, I saw who I truly am. And trust me, that is something no one will ever take from me again. If this story moved you, if you believe silence can be strength, make sure you like this video and subscribe for more powerful stories. Because sometimes, the quietest person in the room is the most dangerous one.